I can't leave here without saying something about my friend, and that's what Elwood was to me as a friend. And I've listened to all the stories tonight, and just different things comes to my mind about Elwood and the way he would laugh and the stories he would tell. And I tell you, he would absolutely keep your attention. You know, you just, but so many times, of course, I've known Betty and Elwood all my life, ever since I was a kid, and Junior and Jean and Mom and Daddy and Betty and Elwood would play cards together. I don't know what they done with their kids. I hardly ever seen them. But they'd get together and play cards, and I remember when they were saved, and Brother Jim set in his heart and mind that he wasn't going to give up till Betty and Elwood was saved, Brother Jim Camplin. And he started visiting, and Elwood and Betty got under conviction, and the next thing you know, they were saved. And I'll tell you, out of remembering before they were saved and after, the one after when they were saved was far more vivid to me than anything, you know. But I thought so much about, and I don't know where I picked it up, but I called Elwood Woody, and I asked him one time, I said, Woody, I said, they called you so many different things. I said, how do you keep up with them? He said, oh, I'll answer to anything. But me and Danny and Richie would go fishing, and the only thing we could do was talk about Elwood and some of his tales, and we would take turns telling what Elwood had said or done, and then everybody would laugh about it. But I don't know of a better guy to tell stories about than Elwood. I tell you, he was certainly an inspiration to me through my whole life, especially in my Christian life. And we hunted together and fished together and worked in the mines together. And Elwood was always the same. He never changed. He was always the same. And we went fishing one time down below Kentucky Dam, and I turned my depth finder on, and we cruised around there in the boat for a while, and finally found the place we wanted to anchor, and dropped the anchor out, and we baited up and throwed out, and I caught a fish about 8 or 10 pound, and pulled it in, put it in the cooler, and dropped back out, and I caught another one, and I pulled it in, put it in the cooler, and Elwood said, take me to the bank. And I said, Woody, what do you want to go to the bank for? And he said, take me to the bank. Now I'm thinking all this time, Lord, I'll never get back in this spot again, and won't ever find these fish. So I pulled the anchor up and took him to the bank. Fish was just working the top of the water. So I pulled the anchor up and took him to the bank, and he got him a little can and a spoon out of his eating sack. And he went up on the bank and found him some dirt, and he scraped it up and scraped that can up full of dirt. And he come back down to the water, and he poured a little water in it, and he kneaded it and worked with it, and he got back in the boat, and he said, all right, let's go back out there. He said, I'm ready to catch some fish. Went back out there, and I finally got close to where I was at before, and I dropped the anchor out, and it caught. And Elwood got this piece of mud out, and I said, Woody, what are you going to do? And he said, well, you look out there. He said, these fish are feeding on top. And he said, you wad this dirt up and put it around your fishing line. It acts as a sinker. And he said, when you throw it out, it hits the water and it melts off, and it leaves your bait up on top. And he said, you catch the fish. So he wadded up a good wad of mud and put it on there, and he threw it out. Well, I dropped back down on the bottom, and it was pretty fast water. Was using about 8 10 ounce sinkers. I dropped back out on the bottom, and wasn't just a minute till one hit, and I hooked another fish and pulled him in, and Elwood pulled in. He said, give me a sinker. They've gone back to the bottom.